Economy Solution Group are looking to work with the EEMPI to create educational feasibility programs. EEMPI to create educational feasibility program. EEMPI to create educational feasibility program. We want to create sustainability consultants and energy advisors of the future.
So without just deciding on the next day, we have decided we will take part. I would love if an environmental scientist of repute, Dr. Sati Nandini Chakraborty join, and Shubhajit in his capacity of Rotary join. We from Energy Ensemble and EEMP, we will only be delighted to join such an initiative where we will kind of start imparting training on sustainability, clean energy and other related topics. We from Energy Ensemble and EEMP, we will only be delighted to join such an initiative where we will kind of start imparting training on sustainability, clean energy and other related topics. We from Energy Ensemble and EEMP, we will only be delighted to join such an initiative where we will kind of start imparting training on sustainability, clean energy and other related topics.
Is now we are in the year of artificial intelligence. So we could have used this AI to track that what exactly the content of the waste and what are the different sort of waste are generating in different part of our city.
During the COVID period, which was a kind of harrowing time that we all will try to forget as soon as possible. That time I remember our Prime Minister had given a call saying, "Jaan hai to jahan hai." There are people who would like to look at it from the other way around. Jahan hai to jaan hai. If the universe of this earth exists, then only we all can live. So that is the fundamental thing we are going to discuss today, and I am really happy and honored that Tim Peterson, CEO Economic Solution Group, has come all the way from Manchester, United Kingdom to join us today. We have Dr. Sati Nandini Chakraborty. I have started following her recently, and I must say that every day, almost relentlessly, she has been writing on various topical issues which we all need to know, and they are so insightful. So I thought let's have her views on this, also on the topic. And Shubhajit is my dear friend from my college days, and he has also in the capacity of his Rotary position, he has also been doing a lot of stuff on environment, sustainability, climate change. We are also grateful to CWBTA for supporting us almost instantly the moment we say. So without taking much of your time, I would like to call upon Mr. C.K. Varadarajan, General Secretary, CWBTA, Confederation of West Bengal Trade Association, to say something which share his insights on the topic. And because there is a small little thing we need to do, I will also call upon Mr. Anshuman as a token of our appreciation, just welcome and felicitate them, all our distinguished guests. Mr. Tim Patterson. Anshuman is a senior official at the National Library, and almost single-handedly he manages show there, so we are really honored to have you here also. Shubhajit Roy. Dr. Sati Nandini Chakraborty. These are the occasions when we are reminded that there was a person called Shakespeare who said, "What's in a name? What's in a surname as well. And Mr. Sunil Goenka, who has curated the whole event. Please. Mr. Varadarajan. Before you start, Mr. Atul Singh also, who is a renowned CSR, renowned CSR person. Now, Mr. Varadarajan.
What to say, already being introduced by Vikra. It's a burning topic, I should say, clean energy, several points, how to move forward. Absolutely, it's a burning topic. You know, we are talking about energy, now there is four variables actually, renewable energy consumption and renewable output. Let's say output from renewable energy. Then we talk about the production of the from the renewables, and then the combustible renewables and waste. Now that is very important as we were talking about that, and it's a very burning topic. Now there is a question that are these clean energy and circular economy maintained countries have really come forward and made an impact on environment? That is the question. And I'm sure, yes, the way to move forward is absolutely very clear. We need to sustain, we have to go through all the environment, whatever impact, and we have to minimize that. And though India being a big country, definitely, we have to take all the steps for this, for to achieving this. We talk about zero discharge and all earlier, all these polluted factories were elsewhere. Now they have all come to India for some reason or other. Now slowly we have seen that people are slowly adapting to whatever the requirements are with regard to maintain the ecological and other factors. So absolutely it is very important. And we from the CWBTA, there is the Confederation of West Bengal Trade Association. We have really, we are the leading associations in the industry all, and we have about 100 associations under our belt, and we talk about strength of more than 10 lakh traders. So definitely, whatever positive we take from here, we'll reach out to all the, even to the villages, where we are so casual about the environment and other issues, and then we have seminars also, and we continue to do that for the betterment of our economy. Thank you so much. Now,
Thank you so much, Mr. Varadarajan. The whole thing about sustainability is one thing, one thing serious to exist and another thing gets river or something like that. That is all about sustainability. So my job is over, done. Now I will hand over the microphone to Shubhajit, who is today's moderator.
Thank you, Ritik, and once again a warm welcome to all of you to a subject which I think all of us are aware, all of us are facing every day. Bangla ekta kotha ache, excuse me, my apologies still, gyan pabi. Amra proত্যেকে জ্ঞান পাবো. We all know what we need to do, but we never do that. Now, some will say that it might be an individual responsibility. It can be a government responsibility. Policymakers are not stringent enough. But I think it's
in a whole, it's everybody's responsibility, whether the stakeholder is an individual citizen or the government or the policymakers and even the environmental scientists. Now, I'm seated between two experts. I'm the what you call, once again, apologies, Tim. I'm the Aam Aadmi. I'm the common man, because neither am an expert on environment and neither am I well versed on this. So when Ritvik gave me this challenge I think 2 days back, that you need to moderate this session, so I have to. I did just like everybody does before an examination, I had to go through a lot of internet. Google is our savior these days. And what I could make from what I read about the entire climate and environment nexus is that is in the face of escalating climate change, resource depletion, and environmental degradation, the integration of clean energy systems, that is what we are going to talk about, with circular economic principles, offers a transformative pathway toward a sustainable development. That is what the reason why we are here for. And we are going to perhaps take away solutions and closed loop resource utilization. So that is what we would be talking about. Tim has been working on this for an extensive period of time, for many years now. So Tim, the first question would be to you. How do you define this nexus between clean energy and economy?
Thank you very much. Afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, dignitaries, everyone here at the Press Club. Yeah, I would say that we've got some major problems because there's a disconnect in understanding of what this means. I think in industry it means an impingement of profit. In the home it means I'm being charged extra by my council or by my state government for things I don't understand. But in the overall sense of the truth of the matter, if we do not evolve and change, we will perish. We have oceans that have less than 30% of the fish stock and species in them than they did 30, 40 years ago. We have nutritionless soils. We have epidemics of chronic degenerative disease, and healthcare is bankrupting every economic system. We saw from COVID the biggest problems in economics and health. So the biggest circular economy and clean energy economy is in the human being. So if you have sick people, you have sick economies, you have poor revenues, you have no profits, the economy falls. So there's the world right for you on a plate. If we carry on just worrying on a local state level, are the legislative structures good enough? No. But why aren't they good enough? Because not everyone in government is explained to what is happening and what is going on in the real world. It's down to education, science and technology to persuade, not because we're in the sales business, but to present the facts. And the facts are, we need to take action. So in terms of clean energy, we need to think about an overflowing sink. The tap is running, the water is flowing over. At the moment, all we're doing in this climate change net zero branding is lip service. The SDGs are important, but people aren't doing enough for CSR. So if we just mop the floor instead of turning off the tap, we're not solving the problem. We're deferring it. At one point, we will drown. The flood will get too much above our heads, we'll stop breathing in oxygen, and it'll be over for us. So my suggestion is we take it seriously that clean energy is the beginning from today, but we need to reach into the past, remediate our lands, restore our soils, restore carbon into the oceans and the earth, and grow healthy, nutritious crops. All of that involves industry, investment, and the circular economy. So that would be a very, very, looks like a pessimistic view, but actually I've just suggested there's the pathway to success and survival of the human race. If we don't go down this road, we could have less than 2 billion people on this planet by the end of this century. And I think that was quite enlightening. Dr. Chakraborty, you've been working extensively with the wetlands of Kolkata. Now, this is something that we always discuss as a resident of Kolkata. And are we losing the wetlands to the peril of the entire city? And how we can reclaim most of it? Does it require more action from the government or more, I would say, sensitization of people? And what has been the challenges that you have faced in doing this work on wetlands?
Thank you for the questions. And first of all, I would like to give the congratulations to all the organizers, those who are associated with this particular event, that they have imparting the rays on the clean energies, and that is to in the sense of the climate actions. And my questions, as moderator asked about that wetland. First of all, I would like to raise the theme like why it is important to bring or survival of the wetland nowadays in our society. Because if we just think about that in our daily life, like when we have something, is it really useful, which are coming daily in our food plates from the wetland, we will say yes. So many vegetables, like there are, if you go pass on that particular area that is nearer, it is a big wetland, it is a Ramsar site in our Kolkata. Nobody knows about the fact that it is in 2002, it is acclaimed as a Ramsar site. And it is through the Ramsar conventions that the wetland is having the 12,600 acres of area, and which gives the basically that agricultural support to our society, to the Kolkata, all the Calcuttan pupils, and also act as a kidney for filtrating the waste water. So the thing is that, like we are talking about the circular economy, yes, it is required. Why it is required in agricultural sectors, it is why so important, because if we lose the wetland, then we will not have all those what I have mentioned till now, and like beside of that, more on that, here we have the biodiversity. That will also will lose if we don't save the wetlands. So whatever the work we are performing nowadays, we are constructing on that particular wetland, which is not at all an environment friendly work. And we are dumping the waste, and how much that waste are causing the leachates. And you know the recent, like what happens in the, particularly in Howrah site, and there the dumping of waste, how the devastating situations is occurred on that area's people. So that wetland recovery and wetland protection is very much necessary in respect of the food security, in respect of the carbon sequestration aspects. Because of nowadays we are talking about the decarbonizations. So their decarbonizations, the wetland is providing the so many plantations over there, the agroforestry, the urban forestry. It is a natural resource. From there the carbon sequestration easily can be possible. And the thing is that when we talks about like the agriculture sector and how it is relates with the circular economy part and the energy sector, there we know that there our government of India, they have promoting the different schemes like PM Kushums. It is very popular schemes. There the irrigations must have to be on the solar irrigation systems. And this solar irrigation practice, we have not yet been very much practices in all over the states. Only few states, only the 6 states have taken over that things as a primary objective. That they must come up with that, they will establish the solar plants and totally solar dependent irrigations. Because nowadays our practice is to that the irrigation is totally on the fossil fuels, that is using the petrol, diesel, all that, and we are using the electricity. But you know better than all the houses of India present over that energy in Kolkata or rather in the India, they're totally dependent on the thermal energies. So that is the coal energies. So we have not shifted on that particular like the sectors as of now in 2025. We are opting that in 2030 we will go for that net zero to the 2070 will come to the net zero decarbonization format. But the total shifting of the solar sector is not being done in agriculture areas that rapidly that we are opting till now. So there only like last 2024 December report, there are only the 5,02,000 solar irrigation pump has been put on different different steps till now. So there the total GDP if we consider that is also only the 20% that in the solar sector that has been utilized. So now through this figure we can understand that how much we are climate conscious. Then it is our urge that for our next generations to be survive in a proper way, in a decarbonized manner, then we have to shift all our actions in a solar dependence, or there is an installation cost will be there. Of course, there are so many other things it is associated with that. But if we don't move slowly on that particular sector, it will be too late to be in a decarbonized form in the Indian market. So I feel so in that respect.
Thank you. Tim, carrying forward what she said, how do you integrate technology with the challenges that we face in a country like India? How do you integrate the new technology that can be integrated to solve or provide a solution to the challenges that we face in an economy like India?
Okay, so I'm not an economic or a political expert on India. However, what I will say is the economy of transition is always painful because there's incumbents, there's big business that thinks the change is going to hurt them. So you've got big oil who think that, where is my next income going to come from? Well, BP and Shell, they're biggest investors in solar and wind in numerous markets. So you've got to work with big industry. The healthcare businesses, they're committing billions of dollars to research programs, yet the nutraceuticals probably offer us a low-cost alternative with clean energy agricultural projects that could massively collapse healthcare costs. But if we take a step back from that and look at wellness 20 years before you get sick and live for 10 years longer after you would have died, 40 years of wellness revenues is actually going to make you more money than 10 years of sickness toxic in the medicines house. So it's a matter of education. We're coming back to the same words. Education, communication, at the corporate level, at the business level, right from the boardrooms, all the way through down to the workers, right through. Policymakers, how can, on behalf of, for example, the West Bengal Electricity Board, Regulatory Commission, how can they regulate something they haven't been shown is true or possible or achievable? We must show in proof of concept, and this is the same all the world over, in India also. Yes, there are difficulties to do business in every market, but there is no bigger criticism than that, the UK have their own problems, their own blocks. So India has its own idiosyncrasies, but I don't see anything different here. What is lacking worldwide is a statement of the real concerns and what's really going to be happening. Everyone putting their head in the sand and thinking it's going to be all right to do it tomorrow or the day after when it isn't. And where do we find the profit in sustainability and the transformation? So it's our job as educators, as scientists, to take first data as the foundation. One of the key things we hopefully will cover later is the financing. How do we pay for this? I'm not suggesting the government of India or the UK government are bankrupt. However, they may as well say they have no more money because they are already committed with their spending. The world is an unstable place. They're having to, in the UK, they're having to borrow more money, and the government bond market is making it clear. The market instability is stopping it from being easy for any country to transform. So we need private investment. We need blended finance using impact investors. We're talking about Gen Z, millennials, and women as well, who will inherit in the next 2 generations $25 trillion US. And that is a sum, even a fraction of that to go into the impact investing between now and 2030. That's a sum that we should be looking to seek and find and deploy. And we then go back, the doctor and myself and the chair here, to actually educate and impart the knowledge and the wisdom and persuade people with money to go into programs to help governments in this difficult time. The regulatory side of it is difficult anyway, but without the finance, the proof of concept, the proof of business on brand new technologies, we cannot get the regulatory frameworks in place because they don't know what to regulate.
Thank you, Tim. As somebody who is working on a day-to-day basis on the field, what kind of policy framework that you think is needed for a better and cleaner environment as well as the area that you work in? What kind of policy framework that you think is missing right now that can actually help the situation?
Yes, so basically from the farmers aspects, if we are talking about that, like what are presently we have, like as I have mentioned, the schemes of PM Kushums, and this PM Kushum, that is basically 7.5 horsepower of solar pump installations. It is like required like 349,000 rupees, and that is under also the Prime Minister's subsidy. There is the 60% subsidies are available. So, but still the farmer has to pay 140,000. That is the installation cost. So that requirements are major requirements. If a particular farmer they are having very small land, then it will be like required additional supports from the financial accounts of the banking sectors that to give the support to installations on that areas. And there are the another projects from the Prime Minister's aspects. There are the Prime Minister Shurjagar. So that also the installations of the 300 free units. Like it has been challenged work, but still the 1 crore people, they must get 300 units of solar free. So it is a huge task, but if the rural sector of India, they can like initiate this sort of projects to take over to their particular land sectors to develop the installations of the solar plants. I know there is like some kind of environmental hazards. In case of India, it is a fact like the dust pollution is too much. So that is like not at all feasible to long run the sector of the solar plants. And there are also the policies in a local level, in the state level, that has to be also required to be the feasible for those like who wants to set up in industries. They are really want that to get the subsidies on that areas, because it is a huge leaves the impact when it is a matter of the reductions of carbon dioxide. If we just see the existing situations in India, like how much the solar plants already we have, there we are reducing 1.02 billion of carbon dioxide. Now you can think if you can switch the whole part, whatever the diesels and the petrols and the electricity part of like using the irrigation system in like the agricultural area, if they shift it to the solar, then it is a 40 million carbon dioxide will not be going to release in the atmosphere. So now we are talking about the greenhouse gas emissions, and our urban cities, our smart cities, if they think about to reduce the environment-friendly materials by using or by making their building, their hospital sectors, their official areas, the particular materials which can capture the kind of like the heat and all the things that is nowadays we are accepting. So we can just replace that material in that way. So that is the concept of circular economy. Then we can implement that things in a circular economical way, that we have to use that sort of materials that can reflect the needs according to the eco-zone socio-cultural activities of the Indian cultural areas. Because everywhere else it is not possible to construct a mud house. As the Kerala already states have been met, for example, is the sustainable eco-gram or eco-models that is reducing the carbon captures. But in our society, our urban cities, our smart cities can also address some special reason of the solid waste management. I must say the solid waste management is also adding huge amounts of greenhouse gases to our atmosphere that has to be managed readily, because this solid waste is a kind of area, it is like we have to manage it. We cannot incinerate the things in urban areas like to add the carbon dioxide, carbon monoxide, nitrogen dioxide directly into the air. So we have to manage in a proper way so that it can reduce the greenhouse gases directly into the environment. So there are lots of these other aspects to the transportation. We are the third largest contributor that this transportation sectors is adding the greenhouse gases. So we are thinking about the decarbonizations, but how much we are working for that and how the policy in a particularly local level, in a urban level, that has to be addressed through our policymakers.
Taking a cue from what Swati just now said, in the West, how have we been able to manage the waste problem? How has it been technologically dealt with, which we can perhaps kind of formulate here and implement?
All right, thank you. So, Dr. brought up a great point there about solid waste management. The problem with solid waste is it has multiple components. Steel and glass need to be separated out, but there's also other issues. Some of them are toxins in there. Some of them are very, very valuable electronic waste. So there's a multiple approach that you could take. Incineration, agreed, is not the way forward. However, governments already have contracts in place that they're committed to for long periods of time. So what we would probably need to do is work with the Veolias and the large players and get them, and we know they're into CSR in a meaningful way, not just in a lip service compliance box ticking way. So if we work with the big players to say, look, you've got this contract with the West Bengal state government, would you like to work with us to raise the capital to install pyrolysis units for biomass so we can create biological carbon as the output? That still creates clean energy, so we separate biomass immediately from the other MSW, municipal solid waste. You take the MSW and you take the demolition waste, you separate that out. You can put it into a new technology, ladies and gentlemen, called cyclonic oxidization. When I say it's new, it's only about 1940s it was invented, so it's quite new. It's only 85 years old. We can reduce there is almost zero NOx emissions, and we can use certain rock filter material, a thing called zeolite, which is a sedimentary volcanic ash, compressed over time in geological eras. You can absorb, it's a very porous rock, you can have filtration media capturing the CO2 in there, and you can process that waste and create huge amounts of energy, and it's not truly combustion, it's at 950 to 1400 degrees C, which is much higher than normal combustion. So you change the gas emissions. When you start looking at pyrolysis, you can restore some of the original chemicals back to their original form. So you can take off some of the oils and the constituents, if it's waste oils from the hydrocarbons fuel sector, If you're cleaning, tankers from ships, you might want to take the graphene out of that first and use that for energy batteries, because electrostatic batteries that are going to be, hands down, will be lithium-ion, will be graphene solid-state batteries. With India being a world leader in call center services in the IT sector, you're going to need a lot of data centers. Those data centers, during the growth of bringing 400 million people into your middle classes and increasing their wealth, you're going to need a lot of data. Data needs security, it needs energy, it needs power. So uninterrupted power in high security data centers to run all of this green energy optimization, data analytics, all the drones that fly around the plantations to do the high-tech reviewing of when the crop is ready to pick. All of this stuff is going to require high-density energy batteries. So the whole thing about fossil fuels, it's not just the past. We need to use that for the future and decarbonise in the current moment. It may only be that we have diesel, gasoline, coal for the next 30 to 50 years, but it's important that we don't pollute our systems any further with it. So the decarbonisation comes from turning off the tap of the overflowing sink and then helping to clean the wetlands and restore them back to the biodiversity that we require, not just for the animal kingdom, but for wastewater management. Flooding takes longer to reach the cities where the wetlands are absorbing that in the underlying soils and aquifers. So I would say that the whole situation needs close attention, but the circular economy is a very complex thing. It's intertwining fossil fuels with brand new technologies, and waste management is absolutely crucial. One last thing, sewage management. There's so much power in the volume of sewage. We all work hard during our days, our lives, and what we output at the end of when we go to the toilet, we don't get paid for that, but that's valuable. At the moment, we have councils in the UK that charge for taking your sewage, they charge you for the pipes, they charge you forever, but they didn't build them, they were built 100 years ago, more or less. But the problem is, sewage is valuable. We can create biological carbon from pyrolyzing the sludge, we can take water off that and clean that up, and we can use that for electrolyzers for hydrogen production. So the circular economy is right amongst us, but the biggest human output is the biggest wealth opportunity, and it's not being considered seriously enough.
Taking a cue from what Tim said, recently I came across a project in London. I was just discussing it this morning with Tim about seagrass cleaning the River Thames. Now, this is a $2 million project that Rotary has taken up in UK, and they would like to implement, once it is done, across Thames. Right now, with the sanction of the Port Authority of London, they have taken up 4 zones of River Thames to clean it up using seagrass. Now, Dr. Chakraborty, why I'm mentioning this is, do you think we need a bit of out-of-the-box thinking rather than going by the textbook to actually implement these projects?
Yes, of course, because we know that research has different come-ups. Like when we are talking about the plastics, like everywhere we have the plastics, and that is converting into microplastics. Now, in our markets, there is bioplastics. It is there, but the people, they don't have that much of awareness on that sectors, because bioplastics, it isn't starch-based plastics, and that could be made from different starch-based solutions, and also the starch which we are getting from the out of different dead seeds and everything, which have the very high starch content. So there are basically the lack of awareness, one factor that is very much it is having in our society, and that is the reason still we are mixing the different waste. Like we have the electronic waste management systems, but still we are putting the boxes and everything, the cardboards, into that electronic waste management beam. So the source segregation, if it is not done properly, then we could not reach any days the recycle and the reuse part. So that is very much required. And as you was talking about that managing the solid waste, their management of the solid waste, now we are in the year of artificial intelligence. So we could have used this AI to track that what exactly the content of the waste and what are the different sort of waste are generating in different part of our city. So that could be give us the enormous work. There are there are not only it is the work of the research and all that, there is the collaborations, the huge collaborations are needed, and from there we could have developed a good sensor. There the people, we have seen so many times when we have performed the field work and everything, that people they are going into the dump sites, they are just segregating the waste. It is harshful conditions and they are affecting their life through that gases, the fumes from there. It is generating huge amount of methane gases and all that, and they are contaminated by the so many microorganisms, the life bodies and the leachates that the toxic. All the waste are, when it is in a dump condition, it is in a mixed waste. So we cannot ensure that who the people there, those who are segregating by their hands, they are the lower level workers. So their life conditions are in a threatening area. So there we could use our AI to get into that sort of segregations work and the sensor based work, so that the reductions of the waste and the manipulations of the waste throughout the whole cities could have possible, where the CSR, those who are utilizing the CSR in different, the planting the trees and everything, the mangroves. I was just talked about before the seminar, just before the event start, that yes, the planting of mangroves is very much required. But it is a common thing that mangroves can grow well only through the flow of the silts. It is a natural process. So if we just protect it from the seeds by any kind of any animals or from the eaters of all that seeds, if we can just protect them, that will grow naturally. So there is no need to give the bribe against that we are planting the mangroves. Rather, we can utilize that sort of money that tracking our all that solid waste, which are greatly influencing the climates of our cities and all over also the earth. So I feel so that should address on that way. It's required to address.
Absolutely. I think digital, technologies like AI should accelerate the convergence of clean energy and circular economic goals. So you have a take on this, Jen?
Yes, certainly. Thinking about who's going to pay for all this, because no one's got any money. Well, some people do, but we need to find them, but we need to convince them. So data is the foundation, and finance is the fuel to fund the transformation. So we need to go to governments, with investors, with private sector blended finance proposals. You put some in, we do some senior debt, we do some equity investment, and the government put maybe match funding up. So we need to be thinking on an economic and geopolitical level, because it's not just India, but India can be the leader in these approaches. Traditionally, it's improving in India to do business. It wasn't always easy 10, 20 years ago, now it's getting better. But India is no way the most difficult place to do business. This is a great place to be the exemplar, to take double-digit growth, but it starts with financing. So if we think about how do we persuade people that this is worth investing in? Well, building a digital twin of the earth and having every square metre of living carbon, mangrove, every digital asset on the blockchain, have that as a digital record, and then we can do AI modelling of any investment. So if we want to change and add 1,000 mangroves across Asia, what does that do? to the actual carbon footprint of the Earth. How does that save the planet? Does it reflect on the digital twin 30 years, 50 years from now? Is it worth investing in? Because an impact investor will want to know. Traditional investing is not sufficient, ladies and gentlemen. People that want to change the world and impact the systems that are being destroyed, that's the evidence they want. So this is how AI, I'll tell you what, if you go to envisionation.org, okay, envisionation.org, there's a new eco coin being launched. It's to crowdfund almost, a new biorestoration plan. The CEO, anyone that wants to have a presentation by the CEO, I'll email it to you or I'll make it available online, all over the audience, okay? So if you want that, Bruce Pearce is the CEO of Envisionation, okay? Sorry, excuse me. Can we just not talk while we're trying to get a message across? Thank you. Okay, so Envisionation is a really important organisation. We're going to build a biorestoration plan, and Economy Solution Group are willing and ready to work with environmental scientists all over the world to build a digital twin so that we can prove investment is worthwhile in the nature-based solutions, because that's the critical part here. If we lose the oceans in the next 20 years, then we lose everything.
Thank you, Tim. We are almost coming to an end to this absolutely invigorating and enlightening panel that we have. We have learned a lot today. There's something which is coming up, at least in West Bengal. Very soon we'll have a major coal block that has been found, in Birbhum. Now, coal is a bone of contention. I was attending a seminar a few days back where a diplomat from Australia was telling us that we shouldn't promote the use of coal the way we do in India, because that leads to environmental pollution. So, as an environmental scientist, what would you say that what should be the path that we should take? Because after all, end of the day, we have a conflict with the West. India does have, as far as use of coal is concerned. We have faced this repeatedly in different forums, and our Prime Minister has also been very categorical. So, how do you, as somebody who's working on the field, how do you view this, and what should be our the path that we should take?
So it isn't what exactly the conditions India have. Like 70% we are dependent on the coal. So it cannot be converted readily any sources from the next day onwards. But what I must feel slowly we have to move. We have the other things like the solar, of course, there are the hydro, there are the nuclear, there are the different energy sources that already we have. If we just slowly move on that, and our policy, it could have that sort of reluctant what the industry differs. Those are really the emitter of the great emitters also for this greenhouse gas emissions. They could have the visibly run their industry on that by using that sort of energy. And as I already primarily I have mentioned that agriculture is the great sectors that consume the energy majorly, that we have to have the foods. We need to have the food, secure the food, give the food security for everyone. We have to produce the products, the grains, the everything. So there we are utilizing the huge amounts of the energy. So that is a major challenge for all of the part of the states, that how we can take over that things. And there solar energy can be utilized in that sector. We know that facts that already I have mentioned the 6 states, they have taken over the things in that way, put up their projects in that way, that to develop the things in a solar feasible manner. so that every industry should have come up their projects in that sectors, and our all the DST, DBT, Departments of Science and Technology, and the mines and the energy sectors, renewable energy departments, they are also promoting the different schemes. So all of us have to be aware about the fact where the subsidies are going on, so that our particular projects could have gained the reluctancy or to work on that sectors. I feel that coal dependency has to be less. Otherwise, we cannot get that net zero that we are thinking about, that one day we will reach the net zero. That is impossible fact, because the rural India, we still are cooking through the fuels, whatever we are using, that burning the coals, it is the main use. And there the government have, the state governments and invariably the central, they have given through different NGOs the solar plants, solar heating cookers and everything. So we have to promote a lot that to give them the assurance that it will work equally good rather than using the coals as a fuel on that rural sites. I think so in that way.
Thank you. I think if I missed out anything, as a common man, I may have missed out a question or two to the experts. So Tim, you have your last word, and then we wind up. Before we open up the discussions for the audience, I would what one word you would like, or one statement that you would like to make to wind up this evening.
Okay, thank you, sir. What I would say is the Economy Solution Group are looking to work with the EEMP to create educational feasibility program. We want to create sustainability consultants and energy advisors of the future. I know that there's a need for talent here in India, but there's also a need out in the world. And you have with all due respect to the talent around the rest of India, there is a huge talent pool here in West Bengal. So what I would like to do is finish on that note to say, we've mentioned frequently education as the key here at every level. And right at the base of education is the school system and the college system. So we sincerely look forward to improving education and sharing knowledge. And I think a feasibility program, I think in maybe July we should sort out the MOU, but I think we should get on with some of the work beforehand before we get there. So look forward to setting that project up with you and the team. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Tim. And Dr. Chakraborty, your last word. What one action should every stakeholder take to make the situation better? Maybe a vision for 2050, and what would be your take on that?
Of course, I must say that we must work, every organizations, everyone must have to step their foot, keeping in mind the 17 SDG goals, like the aspects of the sustainability. Like we know that sustainability, 3 pillars are basically the environments is one factors. We have to give the stress on the economy and the society. So if we can just conglomerate all those 3 factors in a basic way, in our everyone, that could be the educations, that could be the industry, that could be the any organizations of the society, they must keep their every actions, keeping in their minds all that 17 SDG goal. Then we may reach one day that the net zero or the decarbonizations fields what we are opting for, and we can live this world freely and happily. Thank you.
Dr. Chakraborty, I think the takeaway from the evening is we need to live for our future. What we are leaving for the future is why we are here today. I think that is the one word that we can take away from this absolutely fantastic panel discussion that we had with Tim and Dr. Chakraborty, and I hand over the proceedings to Ritik.
Thank you so much, Shubhajit. When we were kids, actually, that time, not too many channels were there, only Doordarshan we used to see. And on Doordarshan there was a very popular show called Flop Show, just called Bhattis. So in one of the episodes it was shown that a 3-hour-long meeting of all the important ministers, key ministers, when they came out of the meeting, the media, they asked him, so what have you decided? Very excited. And then all of them answered, yeah, we could decide on the next date of the meeting. So we are not the ones who would only take decision on the next day of the meeting. And Team and Pati pointed out, I don't know whether how many of you have carefully take note of this, but he mentioned one good thing. So without just deciding on the next day, we have decided we will take part. I would love if an environmental scientist of repute, Dr. Sati Nandini Chakraborty join, and Shubhajit in his capacity of Rotary join. We from Energy Ensemble and EEMP, we will only be delighted to join such an initiative where we will kind of start imparting training on sustainability, clean energy and other related topics. Because I was just going through a study recently done by LinkedIn. Worldwide there is a huge demand of sustainability managers, but people do not know where to get these sustainability managers from. So if we could take such a joint initiative with Team Pati and Shubhajit, I am sure the whole world will be benefited, not only ourselves, the whole world will be benefited. So that is one. The other thing is knowledge is power, as you all know. So with Team's expertise and his company's expertise, if we could do some joint studies also, of course with Dr. Pati, that will help us identify the gap, and we will create that data point on the basis of which we can take up future projects also. So I am sure that is the most important takeaways of today's meeting, not just the date. Although welcome done normally at the beginning of the session, Shubhajit may not have missed out on anything. We have missed out on welcoming two of our distinguished guests. One, Merchant Chamber of Commerce Secretary, our very dear, very own Roida, and Mr. Amitabh Boni, one of the most well-respected and renowned chartered accountants. May I request Mr. Anshuman Jha from National Library to talk. Roida. CA Amitabh Boni. We would also like to have some joint session with Riders Chamber, Merchant Chamber of Commerce, sometimes on these issues. Amitabh will have another task to perform. Please offer a token of appreciation from Mr. Tim Patterson. This is just a small token of Kolkata's memory and Kolkata's kind of keenness to protect the environment and Dr. Pati. And Mr. Sunil Goenka. Curated. And one from Mr. Puneet.
I have one thing to say. I have brought a clause where I think this can fit, the clean energy and circular economy that can fit into it. So I'll be in touch with you to look at how to go about and how to apply this clean energy and circular economy on it. By being a chartered accountant, the economy is much more clarity than so I'm looking forward to be in touch with you for this clean how to apply.
Thank you, sir. So what I would say is, in response to that kind statement, one of the educational initiatives that Rick and I have been discussing for us to develop sustainability advice, consultancy, feasibility, we're not talking about just gold standards out of the textbook, upgrading people's knowledge of what people think is possible. We're talking about advising on what we know is coming through the pipeline at the cutting edge of investment. So India will get the very latest direct to your door. You won't have to wait for it to be filtered down over a period of time from Delhi or from some media that might prove something in a year or two. We're producing evidence for you, sir. We will produce the evidence to show it to you immediately while we're in the middle of the process of building the technology advances. So you'll have the latest knowledge of real time.
It has been a very enriching session, and I would like to thank the panelists and the moderator for lecturing and getting some very important inputs, because I know, because I've been working very closely with the circular economy and I've been working with Nebel, and we have been doing sessions that we've been creating a lot of awareness programs. There have been a lot of awareness programs for Nebel, so I know the importance of clean energy, English management, so I'm so thankful to the audience for listening, and so that is all from today. And this is not the end, this is the beginning. We are having more sessions and of course more learning. Thank you everyone. Thank you to the listeners for making it happen. Thank you everyone. Thank you everyone.